Khairy Jamaluddin has submitted an appeal to rejoin Umno. He said that his application to return to Umno is unconditional and he is ready to serve merely as a crew member. Meanwhile, lawyer Hanif Kachi Abdullah said that Zamri Vinoth is back in the country and has given his statement to the police. Zamri was reported to have crossed into Thailand last week, together with self-proclaimed land activist Tamim Dahri who is also wanted by police. 3 years after his expulsion, Khairy Jamaluddin has officially applied to rejoin Umno. The former Rambau MP submitted his appeal to return to the party last night. The application was submitted to Umno President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who had expelled Khairy amid an attempt by him to challenge Zahid for control of the party in early 2023. Zahid announced the reconciliatory move in a social media post today, with photos showing the party chief seemingly beaming with happiness. He said Khairy's appeal exemplified the Rumah Bangsa initiative, which seeks to form a broad coalition for Malay-Muslim politicians. He added that Rumah Bangsa Committee Chairperson Khalid Nordin would be evaluating the former Rambau MP's application to rejoin Umno. Meanwhile, another former Umno leader is also seeking a return. Umno Secretary General Ashraf Wajdi Dusuki confirmed that former Umno Vice President Hishammuddin Hussein has submitted an appeal to lift his 6-year suspension from the party. Hishammuddin's suspension was originally set to last until 2029. Businessperson Victor Chin said any investigations into alleged corporate intimidation should include the roles and conduct of the MACC and police. Chin, who is being probed for alleged involvement in a so-called corporate mafia, told Bloomberg that he supports the calls for a royal commission of inquiry. However, he stressed that any investigation must not focus on the corporate mafia allegations alone, but include enforcement agencies. Bloomberg quoted him as saying that yes, there is a corporate mafia in this country, but I am not the corporate mafia. He said for years he has been perceived as the so-called corporate mafia simply because his professional work involves providing corporate services and advisory services to business persons and companies, some of whom later became subjects of allegations or investigations. Chin's statement came following reports that his properties at Sungai Long and Kemensa in Kuala Lumpur were reportedly raided by the police on Friday. According to a report in Starbiz, sources said Chin and his wife were not present during the raids, but 3 of his aides were. Last month, Bloomberg named Chin as part of a network of business people who allegedly colluded with the MACC to stage corporate takeovers of rivals. The report detailed a tactic in which a group of businesspersons would target a company, then file MACC complaints against it. MACC would then investigate the company's founders, exerting pressure that enabled the complainants to gain control over the firm. MACC has issued a firm denial regarding the claims, dismissing them as baseless while alleging they are part of a smear campaign intended to undermine the agency's reputation. From now on, you can also listen to KiniNews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Scan the QR code on the screen to follow us. Independent preacher Zamri Vinoth, who was said to be in Thailand last week, is reportedly back in Malaysia. Lawyer Hanif Kachi Abdullah said that he was back in the country and had given his statement to the police. According to Harian Metro, Hanif said that they are still waiting for an update from the authorities on whether he will be charged. The Malay Daily also reported that investigations into Zamri's case are still ongoing, despite earlier reports saying that he was facing 2 charges, one over the foiled anti-temple rally on February 7th and another for alleged insults against the Indian community. Yesterday, Bernama had reported that Zamri and activist Tamim Dahri entered Thailand through an entry point in the southern region on Thursday. Bernama quoted a Thai security source who said the 2 individuals entered the country by land via the Sungai Golok entry point in Naratiwat, which borders Rantau Panjang and Kelantan, using valid travel documents. On Saturday, Inspector General of Police Khalid Ismail confirmed that Zamri and Tamim, who are being investigated in connection with several separate cases linked to their movement against illegal temples, had fled to Thailand. Zamri, however, denied fleeing from authorities and claimed he was ready to face Khalid and be investigated. Meanwhile, Tamim has challenged his critics to locate him. In a post on Threads, he questioned whether those who want him caught are certain that he is in southern Thailand. He ended the post with the hashtag #CatchMeIfYouCan. Tamim was responding to a post by netizens sharing a wanted-style poster of him. The poster said that if the police could not find him, the public should help locate him and bring him to the authorities. The post came following reports that Tamim and independent preacher Zamri Vinoth had left Malaysia and entered Thailand through an entry point in the southern region on Thursday. On Saturday, Inspector General of Police Khalid Ismail confirmed that Zamri and Tamim, who are being investigated in connection with several separate cases linked to their movement against illegal temples, had fled to Thailand. Police said Tamim is set to face 2 charges, one for sedition over an allegedly racially charged live stream and another for desecrating a sacred Hindu symbol. If you like the stories we produce, consider supporting us by subscribing to Malaysia Kini. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen to subscribe. Perikatan Nasional has called on the government to provide a full explanation of the current status of the Malaysia-US Reciprocal Trade Agreement, its economic and diplomatic implications, and the measures being taken to safeguard national interests. This follows reports that Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Johari Abdul Ghani confirmed yesterday that the Malaysia-US Reciprocal Trade Agreement is no longer in force after the US Supreme Court struck down most of the country's tariff measures. In a statement, newly appointed PN Secretary General Taqiyuddin Hassan said the coalition wants the government to convene a special parliament sitting to brief MPs on the development and allow lawmakers to debate its implications. He added that Parliament should also be informed of any commitments or concessions made during earlier negotiations, particularly those that could affect the future direction of Malaysia-US trade relations. Taqiyuddin emphasized that such a move is crucial to ensure transparency and accountability while enabling Parliament to scrutinize Malaysia's trade policy and protect the country's long-term economic interests. He said PN will continue to monitor developments closely and remain proactive in ensuring that Malaysia's national interests remain the top priority in government trade decisions. The Malaysia-US Trade Agreement was signed last October and codified tariffs on Malaysian exports at a rate of 19% instead of the 24% originally imposed. However, the deal was heavily criticized as favoring the US. This included questions about the wording of one clause, which critics interpreted as requiring Malaysia to mirror US sanctions. Agriculture and Food Security Minister Muhammad Sabu has defended the government's call for the public to grow their own vegetables. This was in response to criticisms from Tasik Galugor MP Wan Saiful Wanjan, whom he referred to only as an MP who was expelled from his party. In a post on Facebook, Muhammad said that he had read a news report about an MP who was expelled from his party, claiming that the suggestion for people to grow their own vegetables will not resolve the country's food security issue. He added that he is also aware that planting 2 chili plants will not reduce global oil prices, and a pot of kangkong will not stabilize global urea prices. He stated that perhaps Wan Saiful overlooked reports about the actions taken by his ministry, which has taken early measures following the geopolitical conflict in the Middle East that could potentially affect the global supply chain. Based on current monitoring, Muhammad assured that the country's food supply remains stable and sufficient. He reiterated that the ministry has taken early risk mitigation measures, including increasing the national rice buffer stock and strengthening programs to increase domestic output. He stressed that when the ministry encourages the public to grow vegetables through programs such as Kebuniti and household kitchen gardens, it is not because the government lacks a strategy. He said it is because they understand that food security must be built in layers. Muhammad cited countries such as Singapore, which uses less than 1% of its land for agriculture but invests heavily in urban farming under its 30 by 30 food production target, and Japan, which includes to encourage community farming despite having strong national food policies. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to Kinitv.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.